I know these times won't last, even though they've been tough. Just let them know my people been had enough. Tell them we gon' rise up.
We gon' rise
Tell them
up.
we gon' rise up.
We gon' rise up.
I know these times won't last, even though they've been tough. Just let them know my people been had enough. Tell them we gon' rise up.
We gon' rise
Tell them
up.
we gon' rise up.
We gon' rise up.
Please, Lord, forgive them. They try to hold back and chillin' like they ain't know it was written. Break every chain. Wanna free my people from mental prisons. With your eyes on the sparrow, I know we'll narrow divisions. Hope is the boat to keep us afloat just as you envision. Faith to erase the pain from all of our people slain. Destined for change, with actions to back up your spoken name. When they throw dirt on ours, we use it to plant game. When it rains, we grow greater together, no matter the weather. Trust these dark days, gonna get better. Know that love will be the light to guide all our endeavors. And even if the tide should rise, we'll ride it forever. Why? We are mighty, we'll fight for our lives, cause we're dying to live. Future is ours, the timing is now. Black and we proud, we saying it loud, we gave it our all. Feel so much more to give, we breaking down all the walls. I know these times won't last, even though they've been tough. Just let them know my people been had enough. Tell them we gon' rise up.
We gon' rise
Tell them
up.
we gon' rise up.
We gon' rise up.
I know these times won't last, even though they've been tough. Just let them know my people been had enough. Tell them we gon' rise up.
We gon' rise
Tell them
up.
we gon' rise up.
We gon' rise up.
Never backing down for the cause. Try to put our life on pause, cause we move in the image of God. No matter the hate, the smoking, our spirits remain unbroken. The divine map says you can't count us out. We are the answer. From the youth to the elders, ain't what you can tell us. Style and brilliance of mind, heart is bright as sunshine. Warrior spirits alive, so no, we won't be denied. So vibration is high and the frequency so angelic, like
Rise up. People, come on. Rise up. Rise up. Rise up.
I know these times won't last, even though they've been tough. Just let them know my people been had enough. Tell them we gon' rise up.
We gon' rise
Tell them we gon' rise up.
We gon' rise up.
I know these times won't last, even though they've been tough. Just let them know my people been had enough. Tell them we gon' rise up.
We gon' rise
Tell them
up.
we gon' rise up.
We gon' rise up. Rise up. Rise up. Oh, rise up.
Yeah, rise up, family. Already know what time it is on a Monday night. So, you know, it's Soundbytes International Radio. African consciousness is the claim.
One world is the aim.
Right, all right. Bringing the conversations pertinent to our diasporic landscape to you, and you all over the globe to ensure healing and fortification for the Earth's family. So, of course, you already know who I am. I'm Hasir Khan Neferan. This is
Nefra to my Atira.
Yes, indeed.
Give
Yes,
thanks.
indeed. So, yes, family, tune in as always. Tune in, share the broadcast, join the conversation for today, and make sure you're hitting like and hitting subscribe and hitting follow on all those special places that we need you to be. Remember that we are live right now on Facebook and on YouTube, so make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Soundbytes International Radio, and also make sure you follow and like us on Facebook. At Soundbytes INTL Radio. We're also on Instagram at Soundbytes International Radio. And you can follow our past broadcasts in audio format on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So, make sure you search Soundbytes International Radio, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Make sure you hit that 5-star. Leave us a nice little kind of review if you value the what we're bringing to you each week here on Soundbytes. Also, as you see scrolling at the bottom of the screen, if you find value, once again, in the information we're providing, we are an independently run operation. We bring this to you just because we think it's necessary. But if you feel if you want to provide a gift or a donation of any sort, we do have our cash apps going on the screen at $Soundbytes Radio for any size donations or gifts to help move things forward, expand the operation, make things bigger. You know how that goes. So we appreciate all gifts and past supporters who have donated. Thank you so much. So please consider donating. Please consider sharing the link, sharing it far and wide, and let's beat up the algorithm, beat it to a pulp so our people can get the message that we share here on Soundbytes each week. So we appreciate our family. Peace and blessings, Sister Melly Queen. We see
Give
you out there.
thanks.
Peace and power
Queen.
to you.
We see you out
One
there.
love. You know how we do out here with Soundbytes on a Soundbytes Monday. It's no longer Monday. It's Soundbytes Monday.
Give thanks.
So yes. Make sure y'all join the conversation. Share the link. And let's tap in, family. It's a conversation. It's not a talk at. It's a talk with. So you know what we're talking about today. We're talking about school, right?
Education.
I don't know how to do the French accent, but we talking about education today because it matters, and now more than ever, to feel out, enough to touch base on it. But really, now more than ever, we gotta look at the importance, especially with COVID and how it's shown the impact of having the kiddies at home, right, and changing the landscape of education from the physical space to the remote space to what's it like to you're not with your teacher anymore. For what is it like to have your parents teaching you, stepping into the space of just full blown parent and teacher intertwined to bring the education to the youth, and I mean regular education on a daily basis growing up starts at the home anyway, right? So, but what does that look like in the academic realm of education? How are we moving our kids forward? How does the school system, especially for those specifically for those of us in the U.S. landscape, right, in Western landscape, just how does the schooling system, the institution of school impact our youth, particularly, of course, as we speak here to our African youth, in the school system, right? Well, how is it impacting them? What not only just academically, like intellectually, but also emotionally, spiritually, even physically, right? What are the aspects of the schooling experience that impacts them, and does it provide any fortification? Does it provide any stagnancy, right? How does it shape the minds of the future of our village, right? So we wanted to get into that conversation. Any thoughts you have around that, please feel free to share in the comments. Share why it matters to not only just educate our youth, but in the ways we educate our youth, right? Like, should they be in school? Should they be in the institutions of schools, buildings, right? Should it be at home? Should it be, do you think the way the institution is fine, but does it need to change as far as policies and how those kids are educated and what content is shared? Critical race theory is a big thing at the top of the summer. Like, what can be shared to support our youth and have them, show up better in their lives for themselves and for other people. So I think those are some things we can touch on and really, touch base with. Neff, I don't know if you have any things.
First, let's get some housekeeping out the way.
Well,
Give thanks.
Yes.
Okay, so this week was a really big week for us. Sia had a birthday. Give thanks.
Yes,
so 9/11 came through.
Yes.
And we have maintained control of 9/11 for our specific needs and circumstances and fortification. So we do want to, take a moment to just acknowledge life and acknowledge life force and stay conscious of what's important and what matters. And life matters. Mm-hmm. Life is actually the only thing that matters. Yes. Life force. All the things that we fill our living experiences with are just all bells and whistles and things that we choose to fill our time with. So we're going to shout out and just take a second to lift up the lives that were impacted by the tragedy of the other 9/11 experience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Ashe, give thanks.
Ashe.
And there was a Ethiopian New Year.
Yes.
Also on 9/11. Big things are going on the continent. Our people, we must always be conscious of what's great about ourselves and put that a part of our functional living experience so that we begin to shift the way we perceive and experience our living experiences. African first, African-centered consciousness first, the application of African-centered life skills constantly, consistently in ways being thought, talked, etc.
Sure.
And big deal. We spent Hesia's birthday. We went to FDMG Academy Family Festival. First year, 2021. Big things are going on the front, on the liberation front, on
absolutely
African sovereignty, self-agency, self-governance, beginning with the minds of our youth. Give thanks to Big Brother,
Shouts out.
Baba,
Ifatunde.
Ifatunde.
Many know him as Dr.
King
Umar
Kong Consciousness.
I was about to say Dr. Umar Johnson-ness.
Dr.
King
Umar
Kong Consciousness,
Johnson.
Dr. Umar Johnson.
Big brother. King
Prince
Kong
of
Consciousness, Prince of
Pan-Africanism.
Pan-Africanism. Give shouts out to the brother
Much
out
love
there in
to
his
him.
grind.
Yes, absolutely. It's always love to the good brother Dr.
Give
Umar, because
thanks.
you need to, like, again, and he addresses this too. Like, he gets a lot of flack in the media for a lot of different reasons, a lot of different
We ain't trying
things.
to hit at.
Especially, we ain't trying to hit at. We here for what the spirit moves within the space when we're with our people, right? And every time we're with the good brother, it's always good love, good energy, and an upliftment of our people 100%. That's the message. That's the goal. A BB for Hodie all day, every day.
BB for Hodie.
We're living for that. And the good brother lives for that as well. Building a school, he has his fun as well, and we had a good time on Saturday.
Great time.
Being with the Earth's family out there,
yes.
Seeing the buildings looking great so far.
Property, landscape, everything good in a really beautiful area.
Shouts out to that. Absolutely, creating a space. Four beautiful buildings.
Family.
To curate a space for possibility for our young boys going forward into the future, 2022 beyond. It looks like it's making it happen. So shouts out to him for getting that going. Shouts out to him for standing strong in his resolve and how it gets to be done. Within vision, right? Standing strong in your vision. A lot of folks out here they just kind of will go with the motions, whatever works, and to move it forward. But it's something to stand in your vision of what you believe in. So we do appreciate the good brothers for that. Above anything else, we love someone who can stand in integrity of what they say they're going to do, by hook or crook, by any means.
Be about it. Don't talk about it. Be about
it. Good brother Malcolm X. Ashe. I wanted to touch it really quickly. Sister Melanie Queen, shouts out to you as well. Thank you so much for the Born Day blessings. I do appreciate that. Also highlighting in regards to education, saying that this has been the best thing for my daughter and fam. We have adjusted, and she will never enter an indoctrinated center on my watch. She loves herself more confidence. Yes, it's different when you're in the space to be with your people, right? And learning different. You learn different with the people that actually care and can give you that energy to feed off, right? And help you learn in some different type of ways. Some people learn in certain ways.
Yes.
Some people are like just feed, take the information. Some people they just memorize it. Some people are tactile. Some people like to write it down. Some people like to be in a certain space. Some people like to be, at the desk, or somebody like lay down or sit on the floor, right? And these are different things that you want to take in consideration to honor how someone learns and to support them through that process so they can maximize the value out of the experience. Is what we believe in here. And I know specifically is what I believe in. Like, you want to allow people to learn within their space, right? That cultivates a want and a yearning, and yes, exactly, the best possibility for learning, right? So when we talk about things like, Brother Dr. Umar talks about this a lot, about ADHD and all these things that are, placed on our youth, like
he called it ain't no daddy at home.
Right, ain't no daddy at home syndrome.
Ain't no daddy at home syndrome.
I think, but like really, like, and look, meaning, the idea of, especially for when it comes to young boys, like the idea of having that father figure, that male figure, that representation, in the household that can cultivate and curate this way of being for the future, this vision. I see myself as this for the future, in my own way, but this man is giving me a space to understand. It's standard. Thank you. That's what I was looking for.
There's a standard, and we also learn that I'm sorry.
No, yeah.
But you always want to jump in there with a little bit of social learning theory. So we learn by exposure. This is why when I say certain things like, a lot of us, we ignore it and we just get all angry, we get all angst, and we get all these little weirdness feelings around interacting with the fact that I'm telling you, it doesn't matter how you feel about it. You have white brain as a result of your exposure to white-centered consciousness. You've been exposed to this way of thinking and this way of governance, this way of social interactions, and all of these various things. So based on that social theory of learning, these young boys need that daddy at home and those elders in their space to have those reference points based on how to model in certain behaviors. This is necessary. And also, as a community of people, we want to take into concentration around the fact, we want to really focus on the fact that we've been exposed to this and this thing is not good for us. So it's something that we really want to have an opportunity to address. So that's I just want to jump in here and tag on you with that. Just put a little piece of footnote in there
Absolutely.
about that social learning theory.
Absolutely, and I think this, and and furthermore, is just like even if it's not the situation of like not necessarily not having a daddy at home or what have you, but really again going back to you, like what what do you create? What space is being created for the youth to
Mm-hmm.
learn, right? Like how are they maximizing their time and their best self, right? Versus like you're gonna fit into this square peg into this round hole type of situation, and force you in a space that doesn't um isn't in the best interest of your learning capacity, right? That's like the idea of standardized testing, right? You're everyone who has these different learning capacities and capabilities testing under the same roof of one type of way. And what was the thing Albert Einstein said? If you give a fish and an elephant and a monkey all the same test, of course the fish are gonna think they dumb if they can't climb up a tree, things like that.
Uh-huh.
Like like you want to how you best cultivate in the space um for our youth, and even in the older age when because life is a constant learning experience, right? But how are we cultivating our youth to best learn, right? And be active and activate their brains to receive the information. It's not enough to just talk at them, but how are they receiving the information, right? So these are things that just take in consideration. I feel it's like going through that experience of just being present with this is what youth are needing, right? If you pay attention and listen to youth, this is what they're needing. As someone who's adapted to the arts is a great way, or creativity is a great way to maximize the academic space, to soothe any anxieties or things around testing or whatever. I would go to draw. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like that was my safe space, was drawing and getting into the imagination space, and that
Mm-hmm.
being let to breathe. Like my mother, rest her soul, was very much about letting me do my thing as far as a creative space, right? I wasn't like wild old child. I was pretty chill, but like so that's why I guess that's why I was like a little like, oh yeah, well, let him rock. But what letting me rock was me like, all right, there's something I may be thinking or is a trouble. Let me just draw it out. Let me make a comic or two, or go into my world, and then come back, and then I can retain this information, this math problem, this science project or whatever case may be, and think creatively, think differently. Because when you think creatively, you can solve problems differently than most that's fit in this kind of space of like, this is what you must do to solve the problem. You know what I mean? Like, it sometimes it's not so linear of phase, but you want to give them a space where you can structure what they're learning, but also let them be. It's a balance. It's a balance and a dance to be with youth um in the learning process. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Just like how you seeing, especially for those that are here in the U.S. How are you seeing the school system? How is it benefiting your children? How is it not benefiting your children? What do you think could change? What do you think could be better to
Mm-hmm.
to shape not only their learning but also their relationship to learning, their
To
relationship
learning.
to school, because that's very important um, to
And I
build
also
on.
want to add, Dr. Umar is building the school, and we have a number of schools. We have the Uhuru Academy, and Brother
Yes.
Ajuo and his wife out there.
Yeah, Sister Melly Queen said her daughter attends the Hulu
And
Academy.
also we have our Sister Melly Queen also has a homeschooling school.
Mm.
Um, and
Shouts out.
shouts out to Sister Melly Queen. There's a number of different like educational cooperatives that we know about, and we have also different schools. We have some brothers who built the schools, School of Excellence for Boys, charter schools, and different things like that. But not just for the purpose of education, but as African centered consciousness, right? As we reshape the way we experience our living experience and what we are thriving for, what's the purpose of education? Why do you need an education? Like, it's so casual the way we approach it because we have taken on we've contortioned ourselves to adjust to maladaptive experience. This whole socially landscape is just all madness, right? But we've adjusted. We made a good thing. What is it? Make the most out of a bad situation, right?
Right.
So now we've become happy and kind of jolly, and we're really casual about these experiences. But education has a very strong purpose, and which is what the commitment we have. The Akabit Institute also with Baba Malemu, who and his wife Mama Ya'a, who are very committed to education and educating our youth. I myself, begun educational application of educating with adults. So there's a reason why, as African people, we look at education and what is necessary for us. We can look at Dr. Francis Wilson, who's a psychiatrist, and we can look at Amos Wilson, who's a psychologist. So we can look at our scholars, and we understand the reason why we look at social learning theory and the reasons how the society that we're living in. Because every day, John and Jane Q public people, we were born. My grandmother told me, go to school, get a good job. We just fell in line. This was formatting that was created for us. So as long as we continue to just shoot up and just grow and just like we have a plant and a pot here, it'll just keep doing whatever, right? We'll put it inside of a space here, and it will grow and fill that space, and it'll keep filling that space, and it'll like now we're in the greenhouse, and we just filling the space. Now we're trying to push out some more space. That's what we're doing right now. This me and Hasir, our living experiences, the leveling up, pushing out to make more space for our expansion. But most people, they literally just contortion themselves and they stay in a little corner and they evolve within the parameters that were given to them, which is why I say to you, and I challenge you when I say this to you, African, most people just do what they're told to do. And so when we look out into our society and we make that synthesis of the processes of learning, the processes of development, and our outcomes of what we are looking at, why do we continue to see more of the same? Because we continue to do more of the same. We're doing more of the same. We're growing, we're educating, we're learning, we're becoming social creatures within the framework of more of the same. We've not taken control or harnessed what the educational purpose and practice means and why it's such an instrument in our African landscape. It's so important. So this is what the commitment with the doctor is. Not tend to speak for him or on his behalf. I'm not the authority to do that, but what I'm saying is, as a person who we're in support of his work, and we've been, following the work for over a decade and supporting the work in various capacities, we understand the importance of why it's needed for us to educate our youth from the ground. We need to start with the seeds for our youth, and we need to insulate their consciousness. It's important that we get foreign bodies out and away from our youth and away from their minds. I'm going to read you a quick quote. And it says, to control it. This is from our ancestor, John Henry Clark. Give shouts out to our ancestor. To control a people, you must first control what they think about themselves and how they regard their history and culture. And when you have conquered, and when your conqueror makes you ashamed of your culture and your history, he needs no prison walls, no chains to hold you. Right? Okay, think about this. They decided your name, nationality, religion, and tribe. And you spend the rest of your life defending something you didn't even choose. Do you see how that makes you a fool? And that's from Robert Mugabe. Okay. Let me see. Two things. This is an African proverb. There are two things over which you have complete dominion and authority and control of, and that is your mind and your mouth. That's not even true. And that's an African proverb. But if you take on your self-efficacy, you should have control over your mouth and your mind. You don't. By virtue of your social learning, because it's nature versus nurture, these are the theories. So what we're doing is we're giving you the back room. Now you've exposed to the back room. This is how you're being manipulated. These are the things that is happening in your space. So when we take education and we educate our youth and we insulate their minds, we pour into them with an African frequency after we as adults, or while we as adults are still on our travel and consistent checks and balances around our application of African-centered life skills, right? We're now in a space, we've now cleansed our spiritual energy, right? And we're now able to pour on and seed our youth and nurture and water and grow them up so that when we have a front line, our children, I walk into adults, right? In this moment, today in my life, I encounter adults who said things to me like, I'm not political. I haven't said anything political. We're talking about educating our children. How is this political? But the immediate trigger is an African who is still asleep, says to me, she's not political because she has to keep her ones and twos. So as we said before, African people are incentivized to turn their backs on African people. We need critical mass. There is no way, Fred Hampton says, there's power, there's people. If there is no people, then there is no power. 3 people maybe can make an enormous impact. We have a lot of leaders in our past who have made enormous impact. But the power is in the application of the people who live their lives every day in commitment to being the difference that is different. That is not happening at a grand scale in order to impact us to stop creating more of the same. We just continue to create more of the same. So we need that critical mass. We need a lot of people doing a thing, and we can start with our youth. We don't start with our youth because at this moment we're in, we're in reaction to our circumstance. We're in critical crisis mode right now. So we really can't stop doing this to do that. So we have to figure out an organization way to do all these things simultaneously. So we don't have the moments, there's no space for the breakdowns and all the foods that take everybody away from here. Oh, come to me because I'm a hot mess. Work through your circumstances. Work it out. Work it out because we really don't have time to take resources from here to come for you, one person, to work your way out, have your self-efficacy and deal with your circumstances. Work in self-help, self-care, your therapy, your treatment plan into your situational life experience. It must be implemented as a daily strategy because these are the things that we need to get forward. So the brother is working on the school, and it's important that we understand why he wants to have the school be independent, because he talks about that. Independently funded. No, he just started school in the garage. Why don't he just start a school in the community center in the church? How big of an impact can you make with that? A lot of people have done that, and it works in certain spaces. But when you're talking about an institution of education, it takes way more than that. It takes way more than just, over there in the garage. I talk about Creflo Dollar. We talked about Creflo Dollar the other day, how Creflo Dollar started preaching in his garage, in his house. I went to his church years ago when I lived in Atlanta, right? And not to use him as an example for this particular situation, but I'm just talking about the growth process and what you're achieving, what your attempt to go for while you're doing it. So he created, the Creflo Dollar happened to create this space where he has this space where he's doing whatever he's doing. I personally feel that it's not enough impact. And he also spoke about that at the meeting this weekend, about how the churches are not, he said, well, at least
not
last
the
thing.
support that they could be.
Yeah, not as much as support as they could be. But he did say that at least last he checked, you can go to the church and get a bag of groceries.
Yeah, that's a move.
I mean, you can. I mean, it's still limited, but again,
that's a long road.
It's still limited.
It's still a long road.
So we're building an educational institution to create different outcomes because every group of people has it. Even the Chinese. Your kids go to school, they go to after school program, or they go to weekend school for 1 week, a couple of hours a week when they're in these other experiences. When they're countries, it's a part of their living experience. Certain facets, community. You go down the South Street Seaport, you'll see 40 Asian folks down there doing Tai Chi. You'll see them doing their exercises. It's a part of the social context of their living experiences. There's nothing in this American experience. There's actually nothing nowhere, even on the continent, that is a fundamental, implemented, direct intention around health, mental health, community unity, other than church. And church is something that takes you away from African-centered consciousness. Church is something that has you interact with your suffering in a different kind of way that makes it maintenance. Oh, if I can feel good for now, I can be okay. But what about your commitment to the unit of the group? What about your commitment to the community? A lot of people who say a lot of stuff, and they're like, oh, well, I do home, I do the soup kitchen, and all. Okay, well, you give a man a fish and he can eat for the day. What about the community needs people who you can feed, who you can teach, and they can feed themselves, and they can turn around and teach somebody else to feed themselves too. That's what we need as a community. And he's trying to create that mechanism that allows him to feed these youth. These youth have now been fed. They can now grow up and go feed some more youth. And that's the thing that in our area, my particular area, learning and development, what we do here is Soundbytes. That's the intention. So we don't need to just feed people. I don't need to manage you and give you a salve for today. We need for you to become fully functional, animated African so that you can go out and help other Africans become fully functional and animated Africans. So we look at that and we say that the educational process is very important. And it's something that we as African people need to definitely look at. Our United Compensatory Code system over here, Baba Neely Fuller, he talked about this. The United Compensatory Code system. If you don't understand white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything else you think you know will only confuse you. So the 9 areas that the system, education being one of them, sex, politics, entertainment, commerce, labor, war, right? They're the 9 areas that we are in entertainment. We are under attack in these various facets because all of these pieces are a part of social learning theory. Remember? Social learning theory. You know what else is a part of learning theory? Cognitive development. Cognitive development. How do you process new information to make decisions that inform what you're going to do next? This is what I say to and I challenge and I say, African, we underdeveloped. Oh, people get offended. Why are you offended? We have deficits in our areas of cognition because we're not processing good information and changing our behavior. So this is something that we have to address so that we can stop creating more of the same. Because stop complaining. And I talk to people all the time and I spend too much time talking about symptoms. That's what happens because it's happening to you. And this is where the manipulation occurs. They make you interact with the experience on a personal level. You have a commitment to the whole and you are responsible for the whole. So you being your best self helps you be your best self so that you are a better asset to the whole. If you're not at your best, then you become an anchor and a weight to the whole, which holds us from getting to African sovereignty. Because that's the point. Self-governance, self-agency, sovereignty. Because people should have never been property of other people, right? We know this, right? Like we know this, and I don't know how we're interacting with that reality. We know that people should have never been enslaved. We know that this experience of this American experience that we are living was built by African people on the backs of Africans, blood in the soil, the whole 9 yards. We know this, and we can speak these words and we can say these things. But how does that change the way we interact with our living experience? How does this change the way we interact with one another on a daily basis? On a daily basis. I said to a young lady, I said, if you're not on top of your job, doing your job, if you slipping, this does seem like a small situation. If it escalates 2 steps above, guess what happens? It becomes a worse situation. Take, for instance, working as a security guard. You're a front desk person. If people come into the building, nobody should get by you. It's not your job to check packages. It's your job to be a deterrent to secure. That's your job. Your job is to keep people from breaching security. That's your job. That's your function. Something else that you do, duties and details, those are the extras, not a non-consequential situation. You could tell that person, you know what, you got a package? Stand aside. Hold on a minute. Take control of the space. That's not your focus. They can wait. Trust me, somebody would rather wait to get their package than to hear on the news that someone got loose through the security checkpoint and went upstairs or went to wherever they were going and killed an ex-wife. Right. Because you didn't do your security detail. You were slipping on your gig. And that's important for you to understand that woman's life matters. And whatever that family breakdown dynamic is not really your business. It's your duty to facilitate safety for that family and this building. So this is a conversation where we interact with our living experience as African people differently. Because we're real casual around a lot of the way we behave because we don't feel responsible for our other Africans, but we talk that rhetoric. We know America is built on the backs of Africans. We know that there's African bones all over this country, under all of these buildings, period. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. And that they have not discovered, because, some of these buildings, you can go into the ground 10 floors. So they probably dug them up and tossed them away. They probably under these bridges, when they build these cities, they just compact more stuff that they found someplace else. They just pack it into the ocean and build a city on top of it, like in Manhattan. So that's for us to consider. These things have to change our behavior.
Absolutely. So I just wanted to give just a shout out to the conversation taking place in the chat. We appreciate you, good sister Melly Queen, standing in support of sisterhood and in support of our good sister Chrissy. We do recognize the challenges that come along within this system, within parenting and things of that nature. So we do say to take heed to such support, and trust in the processes that you're currently engaging in, whether it's the eating of the food, the exercise, or what have you. Those are ways to curate the young minds around activation in education, right? And also, like Sister Melly Queen said, to really be again in tune with what supports them best in their learning experience. What's their style of learning? How are they learning? So that is so crucial. And I think something that hasn't been really cultivated for a lot of us growing up, that needs to be paid attention to now more than ever. And this institution will have you has a lot of our parents feeling like there's challenges that this is on the parents' side. Well, really, it should actually be, in my opinion, a thing of working together, right? Because you're working together to curate this child's future, curate the young children's minds into something greater, to be the next leaders, right? We're in a society that doesn't necessarily breed leaders per se. It actually breeds within this school system more employees and more subjugation and more subordinate posture and more um, following the code of some other person, right? Following the lead versus being the leader who understands that following certain practices can help you be a stronger leader to support others in their processes versus being just following along to get along and just going with what's being said, right? There's a difference in that. While it may be follow in suit type of ways, there's a very thick line between what those actually mean. To be a leader who's a good follower versus being a follower who wouldn't know the first thing about being a leader, right? And that's what's being cultivated more in this particular society. Here's these things, here's these books, here's these things you need to regurgitate information and practice regurgitating this information. But did you actually retain it, or did you, even for when you talk about intelligence, the cognizance of what's being given to you, right? You studied, and you've gotten this information, and then you pass your test, you pass your exam, you pass your thesis, and then the moment it's done, you forgot everything you fucking learned.
No,
and all of it just goes to the wayside. You threw away calculus and statistics, and what happened in the War of 1812 and all this other stuff. Versus the pertinent stuff to your life dynamics. It's like, this needs to be applied like right now. Right, I need this education information applied right now. As the child going up into their adulthood, and knowing how to just make the best of themselves once they're out there in the world. Once the institution of education is over as a standard versus it being just a choice. Right, there's people that keep continuing on in education and get 80 more degrees, and to fulfill what though? Right, like what is the society told you that needs to be done to fulfill that, other than being you're more well-read and more scholarly? Yes, okay, you may have more education in this particular type of thing, you've read more books around it, but what is the actual real tangible application in long term to your happiness, to your growth, to your personal strength and emotional fortitude, your vulnerability, your supportive nature, your connection to your community, your connection to your people, your connection to yourself, your connection to your children, right? What does that look like? Because it becomes a cycle. Because the children are going to grow up, they're going to have children, they're going to go through and more than likely teach the same things that they've learned to others, right? And it's going to be a perpetual cycle. But did they actually learn, right? Or were they told things? And this is what it is, and there isn't anything more to it, right? So what and that in itself is what we tend to suffer from as Africans in this landscape, on this soil, is not being one to question more outside of the books and things given. Because well, it's in a book, it must be true, right? It's
someone's theory.
Someone's theory, it must be true, right? It was proven, right? Not always the case. And if the past couple of years are any indication, that all can be thrown away based on whatever someone feels is good for the moment. So the quest for truth, the quest for true knowledge, the quest for getting closer to oneself starts within, and also starts within the space of doing the work, right? Stepping over those boundaries and taking the extra steps to do the real work, to dig deeper beyond what's been presented as this is your educational processes. This is the line of your educational experience from kindergarten to at least high school. And if you choose college, whatever these teachers think they can tell you for whatever their processes are, right? And it's not a knock at the teachers, right? It's all about, more than ever, how are the teachers just as impactful as the parent and as the education given, right? And does it go beyond just what's given, right? Because there are those teachers that do care. I'm sure it's like teachers like, our good sister Melly Queen, and those are close in proximity to the conversations we have here at Soundbytes of it's way more than anything that's being taught in these Ivy League institutes or these structures that have been out here for so long with European shaped curriculum, right? It's a very European shaped curriculum, Western shaped curriculum that actually doesn't support the understanding and knowledge of self of the African. But you get knowledge of Robert E. Lee and Ulysses S. Grant and Abraham Lincoln and all these colonels and things, and but you don't get taught about the actual people that have actually done way worse things to African people. That's probably a blip. But you get taught all these other things about these great heroes, right? That actually were not heroes. That were actually still exploiting Africans, still exploiting land, still exploiting people to make something and put their name on it, right? So these are things to consider. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, I see the sisters are in here having a chat.
Yes,
thanks, going in. And there's something to be said for this life experience, which is something that I try to, I'm standing for your highest possibility at all times. And understand this, African, we don't take the position of a power differential because that's not what it's about here. At this moment, everyone's contribution, it doesn't matter where they are in their contribution or where they are in their age, their space of development. Everybody's contribution matters on the African front because we are, I am because we are, right? It's an Ubuntu, it's a united front, it's a united effort. We all have to move forward. It's that critical mass. It is what is necessary for us to move forward. So it's important for us to interact with our experiences different, right? It's important for us to transmute the energy from our experiences and step out of our experiences. If you do not understand white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything else you think you know will only confuse you, period. Okay, so all the experiences I had, I lost a daughter at 18. My daughter, she was killed. I had to bury her. She was buried at 5 months. My husband killed her, right? Hasim lost his mother to cancer. He lost his father to HIV, to cardiac heart issues, right? They say black people have the highest case of heart issues, right? But that's another conversation. But why is this happening? We don't really know, and we can't 100% say because guess what? I'm not a doctor, neither is he. We had to trust what these people told us. We don't know, right? And I came up in foster care, Big P from the group home. Now, how did I get in the group home? That's a whole other family situations, right? What happened while in the group home? Whole nother bunch of situations. How many homes did I live into? Whole nother bunch of situations. Whole nother bunch of circumstances. Whole nother bunch of dealing with people who are also asleep, who are also agents of the matrix because they're not supporting African people. So by virtue of their lack of commitment to themselves and their own growth, they are inadvertently attacking African development and African people. I, for one, have been finding my way. My grandmother told me I was going to hell for taking Christmas from my son because I felt bad about telling lies to my child because it didn't make mathematical sense to me to continue to perpetuate lies to my child, right? So we're looking at you. We're coming at you from all of these different circumstances and situations. We've worked through our situations, some of those circumstances like that, because guess what? Why not? The matrix is going to do whatever it can do to tear you down. One at a time, hit you with a dozen. Matrix says, every door you open, you're gonna hit another door. Every door you open, another one opens. Another one opens, and another one triggers. This is how it's layered. It's layered on your cognition. It's attacking your development. It's attacking your self-concept. It's doing all of these things and it's moving simultaneously because the goal is for 13% of the world population to diminish the strength of the rest of the world. That's the point. 12%, 13% of the world's population do not need healthy, functional people to be working in harmony, to be working in peace, to be being reciprocal, to be standing for ma'at of balance and deter, right? That 13% of the world population do not need that. 13% of the world population has a lot of harm that is done to the world's landscape. A lot of people that would like to get a piece of that ass. want to dig them out a new one. I'm telling you, it's important that there's consistently confusion in the space. And you having your circumstances, if you make your circumstance a hindrance to you unlocking your own, awakening your African essence, it will continue to bind you. All things under submission of the mind. I decided at 17 that I wasn't going to let something get me, period. My father is probably still out here smoking crack. Has been smoking crack since I met him. I didn't meet my father until I was 13. I had a stepfather. He wasn't a good one, but I had one. Actually, I had two. Then I had one. Then he wasn't a good one, and the other one died. But I'm just saying, like, these are situations. Like, what do you need me to tell you? I don't lead off with my scars and the burdens and because those things don't matter. I can only be grateful and blessed and humble that we've made it out and we're on this side of those situations. I can only say that. I can only say that we fought and we hold the light, we hold the candle, lighthouse for other people to come on through, come on through and stand up. Stand up. Leave it behind. It doesn't really matter. Like, we live in a world right now where the Kardashians, whores, having sex with Ray J, trash that name. Eve was a stripper. She was up on stage getting it popping. She married to a billionaire today. Jay-Z, he was a dope dealer. He was out there slanging dope and giving poison to his community. But now he out here big balling and shot calling. Like, you get to live through your experiences. These experiences in this world were presented because it is I always call it mad Franken-science. It's Franken-science. They botching things together and they tinkering with this and tinkering with that. And you, one person, you don't have 10,000 scientists working to help you work things out and calculate things on your behalf. But these folks do. They do. And all they got to do is press enter and print more money. And you allow money to keep you from growing. I tell people all the time, don't allow your circumstances to keep you from expanding. Because these boxes are as big as you allow them to be. You can just push right past them if you want to. I mean, like, boop, and there it goes. That's it. But it's not about you. Not about you personally. It's about your space in the world and what you're doing here and your contribution to the community. Because guess what? I got to stand for African people because African people need help. I give to the needy and not the greedy. Those folks over there, they don't need my help. They don't need nothing from me, so I help African people. I stand with support of African people. I stand in support of people who experience things like me unnecessarily because I didn't deserve to come into the world of circumstance that I came into. I'm a good person. I'm a good African person. I've always been a person of support, giver, resource, helper. I don't have a malicious bone in my body. Folks have done me so dirty, and I didn't chew their asses out that they show back up on my door knocking. Can I have? Because they don't realize that they burned me and I didn't flip out on them. I just say, you know what? Go in grace.
Because that was the indicators. Like, they need somebody to flip out on them to understand that they did something wrong versus.
I'm not going to do it. You need to check
yourself.
yourself. I'm calling you forward.
Check yourself.
Check yourself, African. I'm not going to let you, although you did me dirty more than once, several people in different spaces and places, nice, nasty, and everything else. I'm not going to let your actions take me out of my African. It was hard for me to get here. It was hard for me to get here. I worked hard to get here. I worked hard to not look like the circumstances and to not radiate the circumstances that I came through. So much so that folks be thinking I'll be sleeping while they over there clowning. And I'd be like, May the ancestors be your guide. That's all I can say. May the ancestors be your guide, not without a malicious bone in my body, because why? They are victims of their circumstances. Hopefully they get free. But I got one eye on you. I'm watching you. Because as long as you're not free, you're a potential problem. That's what I got to look at it. It's mathematics and basic calculations. It has nothing to do with nothing else. What's going to help African people get forward? We have to practice African-centered life skills. Let go of the pain body. I tell folks all the time, let go of the pain body. It's a challenge to the place where I'm at now. I need more functional, fully functional and animated Africans. Because I need resources and I need access to certain ideas and certain energy that I don't have. Because we're not fully functional and animated Africans. Everybody I meet needs some basic something. They still at basic level 1. Grow up. Get your shit together. Period. You got to hear it from an African. You got to hear it from an African. You got to hear it from somebody who love you, don't know you. But you an African, you my people, period. That's it. That's it. You in the trench. We out here in the slinger. We got to do things. Don't chew up the fat, spit out the bone. There's scholars all over the place doing all kind of research in their area of expertise. Get what you need, move forward. Bless them. May their ancestors continue to inspire you. That's it. Keep it moving. That's it. Because people are in their journey. And unfortunately, because we don't have this blanketed system of education, right? Community and social education in some cultures. This is why Jewish people have bar mitzvahs. They get at certain ages. They have certain situations in their community. There's certain expectations, and it's marked out. It's only our community of people as Africans. We're so broken up, and we're segmented in these little subsets, and everybody is clicked in little click. That's what we're doing, and none of those things allow us to work together in harmony. And then we have the audacity to show up like we are arrogant in our little click. Like we're so much something. You're nobody, nothing, because we're clowns on the world landscape. People are laughing at us because we don't have our ish together. You look all right. You got a nice pair of shoes, or you got a nice little house, or whatever you got going on. But so what? Because on a bigger scheme of things, we're not safe. I have to worry about other Africans coming for other Africans. Why we got to worry about things like this? Why Malcolm X? Why Fred Hampton? Why Gaddafi? Why our people have to worry about other Africans not being on code with the business?
Right.
Because of our educational processes. Because we don't have it built into our social landscape, healing and help for African people. And the Matrix has a lot of fail-safes that make us turn our back. Self and soul betray ourself and souls, betray our ancestors and our children's birthright every single day. So when you think you I'm looking at you like, wow. When the new world get here, Lord have mercy. It's going to be hell to pay for some of these folks. I'm telling you. It's going to be hell to pay for some of these folks. Taking no prisoners because you betray yourself, your soul, your ancestors, and your children's birthright when you allow these people to incentivize you to turn your back on your people. Period. I don't owe nobody anything. We don't owe anybody anything. We are African people. We came in the world. The divine has given us all breath that is ours. No one has the right to control that. You can have a space in white society. Really? There's no such thing as white society is dysfunctional. It's psychotic. It's sadistic. That's what white society is. It's made killing other people okay. It's made looking on a checklist or looking on an Excel sheet and saying, you know what? 2,000 people over here ain't too bad. 4,000 people over here. You know what? Take out the whole top 15%. Those are actually people. People who have a right to their lives. Those are people. There's people, there's folks that have big rooms, just like they did at, at the conference? No, not the Council of Nicaea. I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about the Berlin Conference. When they decided to carve up Africa, there was people they was talking about. There was cultures. There were community with tribes. They don't went and say, you know what, here, France, you take a piece over here. Here, Germany, you can have a little piece over here. Here, Europe, you can have this little piece over here. Those are people. And we, by exposure to this space, we have dysfunctional, sadistic behaviors. Our community, Africans, we do. We're selfish. We think in ways that are outlandish, complete insanity, under the guise of get it how you live. Do me. Get this money. Get this bag. Secure this bag. We willing to sell out. We allow these folks to incentivize us. Let me tell you something. If the head of something is dysfunctional, so will whatever it produces. Mm-hmm. So if your head is jacked up, so 85 to 92% of all communication is nonverbal. So when you make something and it's a hot mess, it's clear that you understand that the brain is also a hot mess. Yes.
And those people that hold those things, when you see they create more of the same, when you see that they're the head of the leadership,
then you see why it's like that.
And you see what comes out of that, the people that have come out of that training.
Yes.
You see what comes, like, it's literally just regurgitating more foolishness.
Copy it. Copy. That's it.
And it may be worse, like the game of
copy
telephone.
And paste.
It's like not even the same, so it might be worse.
That's it. Because of social learning theory. So that's
that.
what we at now. We at Black Lives Matter. We at all of these different gender assignments and all of these different things. We're at all of that right now is based on social learning theory. Because we're learning from each other. And all you gotta do is have a bunch of people. And what does he say? I'm trying to find the other post that I put up here about I don't generally use European quotes and scholars and things like that unless it actually makes sense. We got Noam Chomsky up here. It says you control the media. Did I bring it up? I don't think I even did.
Cool, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Let me see. Control the media, you control the minds.
In short, yeah.
Control the media. You got it?
Yeah. What is it? You got it.
He who controls the media controls the minds of the public.
Yeah,
Period. So, and since we're now inundated with media, it's everywhere, constantly. Some of us have, they said, you touch your phone every 6 seconds.
I literally find myself sometimes like in that like.
I just ignore it.
I'm like, nah, put the phone down. Chill, you don't need it.
I'll leave it. I'll be like, I don't even bother because it's like annoying to me. But I also came out in a time when there was no cell phones.
Yeah.
But 20-year-olds today, they have meltdowns, mental and emotional meltdowns.
That's the issue.
If they do not have their phone. You go into social spaces right now. This is education now. We're talking about education. Okay? And education of a people will dictate their trajectory to their future. And as a collective, we do not have a collective education. We do not have collective theories, philosophies, commitments that bind us to each other and our forward motion. We do not. Everybody feel like because the space told you that you're entitled to create whatever theory you want to create because you can choose. It is your right to choose. This is what he says. You can choose to smoke cigarettes and kill yourself. You can choose to drink, become an alcoholic. You can choose, right? It's your right to choose your poison. That's what they're saying. And you do. And that poison that you choose is to the detriment of your community. Right?
Because it impacts others.
Because it's not just you.
Right.
Okay? So, the phone, big issue. So every 6 seconds, you're touching your phone. What are you in there for? If you don't have a business, then you're on social media. Right. You're on social media. If your phone is not generating capital for you, and then what kind of business do you have? Is the business that you have a kind of business that's helpful or harmful? Because remember, they continue to feed. They're not going to tell you that morbid obesity is a disease. They're not going to tell you that. No. Because they want you to keep buying McDonald's and Burger King. Burger King and McDonald's are federally traded corporations. They pay dividends to their investors every quarter. Big bucks. So if they started telling you certain things that's going to change your behavior, that's going to affect the coin. Because remember, it's all about the almighty dollar. Right? Some people got to have it. Some people really need it. I'm just saying. So you got to think about these things. African, you have to think about them. Oh, best way to help poor people is don't be one of them, Steve Harvey. Good Lord. He doing good in his life. He got plenty of coins in his life. What that mean?
Plenty of tooths.
You still a part of a community. We got plenty of teeth.
Spend some money on.
I'm just saying. I'm just bringing these things to the forefront for us to make an analysis. To make an analysis. Something that we shy away from making an analysis. You know why we turn into, we don't want to make an analysis. We call it talking about people. No, this ain't gossiping. This is science.
Definitely a difference.
This is mathematics. Okay? This is doing the calculations. If it's not working, do something different.
Right.
Period. Unless you continue to create more of the same. And more of the same does not help African people in the long run. So we as a community, we get to do this long tail theory. Yeah. Now, we have Dr. Omar, who's doing the school, FDMG Academy. His goal is to have more than one school in several different cities and possibly all over the world. That's great.
Dreams.
That's great. Doesn't have to be a dream because you know what? It's enough of us. He talks about that. We used to talk about this all the time on the show. We $3 billion, $3 trillion spending power annually in the African community. And guess what? Somebody is exploiting us and disrespect us. You know what I was told when I was young? If somebody don't take your money and respect you, take your money elsewhere. Because if they don't respect your black ass, they will respect your green dollars. And African people, that is our biggest tool that we do not use. And you know why we're not using it? Because we lacking our cognitive development.
And that's a perfect example to ask back when this has been happening the past couple of years. You got these artists, these black artists, for instance, to that point, that are going to these European stores, European designer stores, and getting racially profiled and all this stuff, and getting all this hassle. And then in their mind, in order to prove these stores wrong or to prove them different, is to spend money with them.
Yeah.
Let me show them I can drop $40,000 on a bag, or I can drop $500,000 in your store without blinking. Yeah, I done showed you. No, you didn't. You gave them money. You gave them money that actually could have gone to your community. You gave them money that could have gone to your family.
You could have gave them money that could have gone to building a school.
Building a school.
Building a school that is going to help forward the trajectory of the African future.
Right.
Because right now you here. So you hard-headed and you here, and it might not be a whole lot that you're willing to commit yourself to. But if we can start our youth, if you look at Asian communities, their children start from the moment that they can walk. You begin to condition your child from birth. I went to my sister's house when my niece was 3 weeks old, and I taught my sister how to make homemade baby food. I bought groceries. I bought a hand blender. I gave her enough support that she could have gotten through my niece's first year of living and been in total control of creating and building the building blocks within her biophysiology, right? My son, he and his father and I ended up in a domestic situation where I ended up in a custody battle with my son's father for him when he was 10. So he lived with his father off and on for 5 years. But from birth, the most formative years of his mid-level development, right? When you're formulating that what do you call it? The mid-level development.
It's like the formative years. Your adolescent time is when you're making your own decisions and learning
and
building
your own way,
your own assessment
perception
of your life processes.
So that's where he went. But I'm talking about from birth, from my niece and myself. I started all of this reading before my daughter was born. So I had all of these goals and things like that. My daughter, she died. She was killed at 5 months. Fine. My niece comes, 17, 18 years later. After that happened, I went to support my sister who was then having a daughter, she's now 9. So I went by, and I'm saying to you that it's important that you take control of the development of your child from birth. I know our African people, we interact with school. Like, I've heard so many folks, I can't wait these kids get out of here. How have you dealt with the development of your children to the point where you cannot deal with their presence in the house when they're your children? That was shocking to me. That was shocking to me to hear this. And I know I came out of a household, and I'm the eldest of 8 siblings. 8. And when I say this house worked like a well-oiled machine, everything was system driven. 6 girls, 2 boys. Boop, 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 bedtime. Good night. Everybody got a bath, brush your teeth, put in night clothes. Good night. That's it. And you know what? When my son came up, same thing. By 8 o'clock, my son would sleep 8:05. That's it. Good night. 6 o'clock, ding, 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 hit the floor. Let's go. That's it. Right? In the system. Prepare a social environment for the children to interact, because you also need to engage their socialization. They still have to get into their art and their other types of right brain learning and creativity and all these things. So as a parent, we're creating that space. Some parents love this time being with their children and having this opportunity to take the teacher who I walked in school, my son was in school, and I was always in his school when he was coming up. They would look up and here I come. I was in the school. My mother was in the school when I was coming up. So that was something that I learned. Took her to the library, was in the halls of the schoolhouse, period. They look up and here I come. I hear these teachers screaming at these kids. I go into my son's classroom and I had to let them know, listen, I don't raise my voice at my son. Now it's crazy because I used to start yelling at him. But when he was smaller, I didn't raise my voice, because if I raised my voice, he would cry. That's how I had trained him. Loud wasn't a part of our life. It's crazy. Loud wasn't a part of our life. My husband, he can't believe this. He like, what? This is those me. Wait, let's go back to those days. No. We got into it when he got grown. Now he got grown, and I might have to put my word in, and we got right. But now things are different. But when he was first born, when he first came into the world, calm. It was important for me to put calm in the house. It was important for me to put stable and a baseline. You don't use voice to intimidate and to take a power differential position over others. These are behaviors that we learn from our oppression. These are attitudes and behaviors and the way of social interaction that we learn from our savage behavior, the savage overseers and the slave masters. This is what we learn inside of trauma of how to interact with each other. I've got African people saying that they have an issue with being nice. They feel a way about taking from people. I feel, she gave it to me. I feel some kind of way. I don't really want to accept nothing because, she gonna want something in return. I'm kind of sort of still like that. I don't really like to take things from people because I don't know if I'm getting ready to write a check my ass can cash. Come to me from the front door. What you want? Speak out. Don't give me I don't want to accept no gifts. No, thank you. When I was dating, please. I was like, how you be going through all of these dates? Because you know what a date is? It's what you call it. A date was 10 minutes walking to the train station. I don't want you to spend no money on me. Because I'm going to find out who you are, what you're doing. Because I don't want you to get emotional. When you start spending people money, they get emotional. No, I'm good. If ain't nothing following, you don't want no expectations from me. I don't have to do no putting out. Because I know how to have platonic relationships with the opposite sex. And there's no sexual weirdness in the energy, period. It's something that I developed. Because as a woman, I never wanted anyone to interact with me in my body. Don't interact with me in my ass and in my boobs. So that was not something that I put in the front of the room. My grandmother always told me that. If you start the relationship that way, it's going to be difficult for you to dial men back because men have tunnel vision. They have singular thought. They don't think the same way women think the way. They don't process like that. So if that's how you're going to lead off in education and social behavior, if you're teaching Bandora's learning theory, social learning, if that's how you want to interact with other people, then that's what you're going to get back. So I interact as on a baseline, eye to eye. We see eye to eye. We equals. In this moment in the African community, there's no hierarchy in this moment because it's who's best at what job in this moment. It's respect and honor all African-centered energy because our people, we're all Africans. That's the whole concept of Pan-Africanism. Wherever you find an African, if an African is there, they're my people, period. Let's work out the details and all of this the semantics later. That's not it's irrelevant. Stand for an African, be a fully functional animated African. We African, we people. That's it. And that's a consciousness that we can work our way through so we can take away the barriers to our trajectory forward. We need to remove the leverage that the matrix has to manipulate us. And we can do that by changing our behaviors. No, they are going to continue to say, oh, nobody's shaming while you have people who are 600 pounds. One girl, we saw one show right now, the girl, 14 years old, can't leave the house to live her own life because she got to be home to take care of this mama who can't get out of her bed. Because she got to go buy 5 burgers and 3 2-liter sodas for this woman who is on drugs. Because now at this point, the food is a drug. Food is a drug.
That's why they go together. It's part of
food and drug administration. Now it's a drug because food interacts with the body biophysiologically, chemically. It is a drug. And this woman who is now abusive parent to this child, who is hindering this child's development, who cannot leave her home to attend school and do the things that she's supposed to do as a child because this woman cannot leave her bed. You're going to tell me that nobody's going to tell this woman that she's sick? They're not even telling the woman she's sick. They're not even having this conversation with her because, and the white psychologist is going to say, if you say that, that's going to be too traumatic for her. What's traumatic? Looking at her ass can't get off the bed with her own feet that she was given? That's not traumatic enough? Tell me the truth. Let me handle my business. I'm good. I'm grown. I can take it. Like, be with that and work your way through it. Don't let it be the end of your story. Allow it to create freedom for the beginning of your story. Now you write it. Your story is unwritten. So it used to be my song. It used to be one of my songs. You write it. How you want to write it? What are you writing? And you have things to put into your story. If you didn't know what to do, then just take the pieces from books All of our African scholarship, all of our psychiatrists, our behavioral scientists, our social scientists, we have a lot of theories. A lot of theories to help us in African chew up the bone, chew up the fat, spit out the bone. Okay, and as you develop your ability to process an African, you will be able to cull through, because all this, because it's in a book, doesn't make it 100% right. Because there are some of our scholars who have theories, like religious theories or different types of theories I don't particularly agree with.
Everyone's out here writing books these days, so
everybody's writing a book. Everybody, their mama just like
fine-tooth comb, sense of discernment. out here in these streets.
Everybody can just say something, stick it in the book, and just go over there and publish it, self-publish. It's fine. And, it's okay, because this is how we needed to get our word out as a community, because they have been silencing us for so long. And we understand it's necessary. It's therapeutic. But the reality of it is a lot of the things that we do in our community is therapeutic. And that's all it is. It is for our own personal health and well-being. It is not necessarily beneficial to the whole. We don't really know the difference yet. So I come in there as that learning and development to help us see through and catalog some of this stuff so we can work through these things. Right? So we really was excited to go and spend time with the good brother,
Yes, indeed.
And see the family come out, and folks still clowning, acting a fool online, where to school and this and that. What you doing to help? That's all I gotta say. What you doing to help?
It's just funny to me because it's a prime example of the toxicity that we're living in as African
it's crazy.
people. The vacant esteem that we're still living in, that we think is part of the cool kids club, to still troll and badger our fellow folks.
Foolishness.
We're trying to do something that they believe, right, is to be of support of the community. So what is that to troll? Even if you don't feel it doesn't work or what have you, what is that to be obnoxious and antagonize that reality?
What is it?
Be of support. Tap in and be of support to people to actualize those realities. Because a lot of times it could be big dreams. Maybe they don't know how to execute or whatever. Not to say for the brother, but just as an example, we deal with a lot of that in our society. How you doing with that? How you doing with that little business? How you doing? And it can sound like it's nice, and it'll be passive aggressive.
It'd be nice, nasty.
You still doing that little thing? Or you still doing?
It'd be nice, nasty.
Cut that stuff out. You should just go get a good job, and then whatever, and quiet yourself, and don't be different. Be like us, and be very miserable. Not doing what we thought we could do, but we were too scared to do so.
Yeah.
Because the system, it's loud. It's beating me down enough to where I don't believe enough in myself. Wrong. Keep that energy over there. I don't want it. No one else needs it that has a big vision. We need to uplift our people in any instance where they're trying to put their best foot forward, to especially if the goal is to maximize the value of the people
and help the community
and maximize the community. If it's people minded, community minded, step up and join in the fight, join in the growth, join in the process, add your skill set. Come on and antagonize and talking about, well, where is it at? All these donations, where is it at? You built a school before? Please tell me about your plight. Please tell me the steps you've gone through to know that you can criticize and antagonize someone for what they've chosen in the process and not know anything about the process.
None.
I see people on the page that look like they don't even follow. They want to jump on just to antagonize. Where's the school? Ha ha ha. LOL.
Just being simple.
Cut it out.
It's not
just about him, but it's a prime example of how we're showing up in this space, right? It's a prime example of how we're showing up to be different. We'd rather be in tune with the matrix, in tune with the system, and continue to beat down our people, looking to do something for our people, to beat down the idea of activating African and activating blackness and Africating all pieces of who you are as your identity as a melanated person. But then you want to opt into the symbolism that BuzzFeed told you of what being melanin is, and partying at a Black Lives Matter party and putting fists up and afros and chains and things of that nature that look cool, look
That's about
black.
it.
But is it African? Is it
an imitation.
Is it a consciousness? Is it real?
Sentimental. All it is sentimental. And that sentimental thing, I try to get our people away from that sentimental stuff, because it's just another pitfall. We literally got to, we got to take away those pieces of the matrix that trips us. This concept and how much emphasis we put in money, how much emphasis we want more, and I have this issue too with my other business. We have people who are expecting it to look like this, but we're Africans. and we're not a huge Fortune 500 corporation, and our impact, that's not our aspiration. Our aspiration is impact. That's our aspiration, to impact. So positively impact and to contribute to the trajectory of growth of our people. That's the goal. So if you expecting it to look like Sumerian Jane and them, good luck with that, because it's not. If you need to integrate, but what we do is we respect the systems of the matrix, though, through social learning theory. We know how to interact with the matrix. We know how to pull out our plastic and sit on that counter and pay $1,500 for them what's the name boots, or for that what's the name purse. We know how to go down there and get that loan and pull out that Land Rover and what's the name, thus and thus and thus and thus. We know how to do that. So don't come knocking at my door. First of all, I do not work for free. The door is done. Like, that passed a long time ago. Period. I will not be collecting no change unless I'm collecting my fee. Period. That's it. I'm not doing, I have a consultation fee now. I don't even do free consultations anymore. That's done. Like, people have taken up so much of my time, and now I can holler down the hall and I will hear largest echo will echo for the next 10 minutes. Because it's hollow down there. Okay? Hello.
It's real.
On the phone for 3 hours on vacation, supporting. And it's not, I'm not saying this as malice. It's a call out. It's a be different. It's you be different so that I don't have to be on the phone with people for 3 hours who only plan to take. Okay? You be the difference that's different so that we can create the ripple effect of more fully functional and animated Africans in the world. Right? Because I'm a human. I'm living this social experience just like you. We're not Rockefellers over here. We regular people. We don't take high posture and high profile positions. We're not looking for a power differential. We want you to know that you can take control of your life and you can be on track for that too. Absolutely. So whatever you see, I believe in your ability because I know you an African.
Period.
That's it. I believe in your ability. So I don't have to lord over you. What I want you to do is I want to be equal with you. I want you to boss up and I want you to contribute so we have access to more resources and assets. That's what we want.
Right.
That's the goal. That's selfless, but it's still impactful. I benefit from your growth and benefit. That's what I do.
We've gotten conditioned to believe that a lot of what we go through in life is debilitating how we can actually respond to it. No, life doesn't happen to you. You happen to your life. You like your circumstances. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, but it's true. You happen to your life. It doesn't like, oh, life is hard. Life is it? No, it's not. It actually is not. Despite what you're going through, it's not. Right? Because what it is that there are people and there are systems that curate this dysfunction, right? And that's something that may be quote unquote out of our control of what they're doing, but what you can control within your space is how you respond to it. And your response could be, I will not let this deter me from whatever this option is. I'll go around it. What's the other options that are available? What's the alternatives? How can I show up and stand in the face of this? Because that a lot of also what it is the belief within the system that you're too scared to combat it, or you're too scared to respond to it. So when you show up, you messed up the algorithm. It doesn't know what to do now. So now it has to comply until it figures out another way to be a barrier to you, right? And it has to come back later and figure out the barrier. But meanwhile, you keep it moving. You keep it moving and do what you need to do.
Keep it moving.
Right? Because by hook or crook, like Netflix said, we are no different than anybody else. But the things we do, we more than likely believe that because in the way it shows up and looks in certain people's eyes, is that we don't need help. Oh, they got it. They're good. We could always use help. We're grateful for the skills that we do have to do what we need to do. But a village is a village for a reason, right?
And I should be able to depend on others.
You should be able to depend on others. Exactly, step it up. Right? Because that's how it worked. You see the greatest leaders of our time, they never rolled alone. You know, we may have our certain leaders that may have ended alone in as far as like,
and that's because we didn't
show up for them.
We didn't show up for them. That's right.
We didn't show up for them, right? But in general, their goal was not to go alone. That's right. You want to go far. You want to go fast. Go alone. You want to go farther. Go together. And our goal and a necessity for us is to go far. It's to go longevity.
And that's part of the reason why their work
legacy.
That's right.
We want to go generation to generation to generation and build abundance with each generation to come. We cannot do that if we act within these silos within ourselves and in this individual space within ourselves, or this radical individualism that's been cultivated over the years. Well, yeah, I got mine, you go get yours. That's not African. That's not how that works. That's not how the idea of the village works. Right, we were talking about on the other news, the last show, about capitalism. Right, is when you talk about currency before, these dollars and cents, and that was the means of transaction. If you ain't have it, it was a status symbol. There was the barter system of, you have a skill set, I have a skill set. It supports each other. We work together and we build a village. Right, the baker is making food for the carpenter, so the carpenter can be filled and lay the floor in his house. Right. Or the fisherman's helping the fish. He brings the fish over to the market. Like the baker is
gonna give him some loaves of bread.
Exactly, and it all works together, right? It all works together. The mother, the nurturer of the space is gonna support, nurture the children, and help educate we call it the provider or the hunters. Everyone served their purpose to curate the village without this idea of a transactional thing, or this piece that curates the transaction with no skill set or no real actual value is given in return, or shared or reciprocated in return, right? Because this paper, this coin, these metal pieces, they actually mean nothing to what actually takes place. Someone defined that this means you can get that. It doesn't have to be. Just give it. Like, you can just give and just you can receive as well. It's an exchange.
Make the exchange,
right?
That's it.
But the mindset behind it is like, that's a curated process. I'm talking about my favorite word, curated, right? The curated process of like, this is how we're going to regulate this, because we don't want no thieves, we don't want that. But like, that ends up building more of that of criminality, or building more of like this proximity to, like, we have the wealth and you don't, and this builds the vacant esteem, this builds the loathing, this builds the I got to do what I can do to survive because now I've been put in the space. All that poverty, all these things is built up, and scarcity minded stuff is built up over time. There's no need for poverty.
None.
Right? There's no need for any of the stuff that we're taking place. It's a control mechanism.
It's a control mechanism for 13% of the world.
So how do we respond
to it? 88% or 83% of the world's population.
And we've fallen in line with that.
What have we agreed to?
We've agreed to.
What have we agreed to?
Exactly.
This is an attachment theory. We're attached to sentiment. We're attached to comfort. We're attached to things that we know. This is how and those things keep popping back up. Oh, I keep backsliding. I keep getting caught back up. All I can tell you is make a decision to get on with it. Just make a decision to get on with it. Like, as long as you stagnate, and I'm leveling up, and I go through different types of developmental processes where I have to churn something out because it's pulling me next. And since I'm like grappling for resources or grappling for insight, now I'm just having a deep dive into a spiritual trance to try to get what's next so that I can hear my ancestors, because there's no counsel. When we get counsel from?
That's hard.
It's no counsel. And I mean, I've reached certain levels of my consciousness and cognitive ability and different types of expansion in your being and your consciousness that, like, I don't want to be the smartest person in the room.
Right.
Like, hell no. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I'm good at what I do, and I know I'm good at what I do. In fact, I'm great at what I do. Nobody can do it like me. Period. This is what I absolutely know as an African. Right? And I want you to say the same about, I know who I am. I'm the greatest at what I do. And can't nobody challenge that. Yes, I want you to know and be true. I don't want you to just lie to yourself, because I'm supposed to be saying that. Stop lying to yourself. No, be about that. Yeah. Like, know that and know it is happening, and be truthful about that.
Just trusting in your process, trusting and knowing what you've learned and your capabilities.
And my ability to apply it.
Because even being off this, the greatness even lies in being authentic around that. Like, this is what I know I can do, and I can do it well.
Period.
Right? So if you need that, I got that. Right? And no one, no one can take it from you. It could be 800,000 people that do the same job, but they don't do it the way you do.
No.
In the same style, with the same care, the same mannerism,
and
love, or whatever it is.
And the outcome cannot.
That's your
not possible.
That's your superpower in all of that.
Period.
So no matter what you think, I don't know if I'm good at this, but you're good at that, right?
Yes.
And that is still matters, right? How do you maximize that even if you feel like this is not up to par? We're gonna say not good at it, but it's not. I need
improvement here.
It can be stronger.
I need improvement here. Great.
But in the meantime, that is awesome. And you can maximize that in any space that you're in. There's literally a space that's what I'm saying. This matrix said that dollars and cents and USDs and euros and all this shit is what's you have enough. That's what makes you great. They made that. They could print it and it's real to them, and you be conditioned to believe that that's real. Yes. So since that's what they decided, what can you decide to make it work? There's literally a job for everything these days.
You can decide.
There's a job for everything these days.
You can decide something, Africa. I'm just saying.
Literally. There's a job for every. I can't even believe I can't even it just seems unfathomable the things I've seen online of like you can literally do anything and make money off of it, right? And everything I'm
not as an African, I'm not willing to do everything for myself.
Exactly.
Just for me.
Exactly.
I'm not willing to, but I wish I wouldn't have to.
I'm saying that even if you think whatever you can do is outlandish, I'm talking about activating what your niche.
Well, some people are good at sticking their tongues out and touching their noses.
There just might be.
There may be a market for that. Someone may need that to make them feel happy.
That may be.
Just saying.
That may be Guinness Book. That may be a content creator thing where you're showing the different ways and different places you're doing it, and you can make money on social media doing that. And that's and
a long-term conversation.
Something that's made up.
So this is a maintenance conversation. This may be a thing to do with an integrity, with an exchange of energy that gets you from point A to point B for now. And your African-centered consciousness knows that you're not going to violate Ma'at. You're not going to take advantage. You're not going to manipulate, lie, and deceive, right? Right? As long as you're maintaining these areas, you can do that thing for maintenance purposes.
Right.
And that maintenance can help you begin to also expand yourself, and you can also expand other people. I run into folks, they're so hard-headed. They keep telling me, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. But you know what? I'm very strict. You do realize that. I do not waste my time. And I'm not going to waste my time with nobody who ain't about this life. Because I did it, it was hard. But I go, So if you want it, let me know. That's all I got to say. Because if you're committed to creating your outcome, you have to be in the driver's seat.
Yes.
I can't make you do nothing. So I'm not going to waste my time trying to force you to do something. You are the driver. And it's important for me as the guide to know that you can drive. That's important. Because I'm not wasting my time trying to put people on my block. There's no. We did a show a couple of years, about 3 years ago. African woman, stop pulling on. I used to tell myself, listen, if I say I can pull a truck, you shut the fuck up and hook up the truck. Okay. No, I'm not pulling on trucks today. That strong woman, that's that foolishness from the Matrix. To make you wear this, I'm a powerful single black woman and I'm powerful and I could do all these great, but then you also got deep depression, you miserable as hell, and you at the job throwing steak at the young girl who's on the reception desk, who just got out of school trying to make her way through life. Right? So how good is that strong, powerful black woman badge that you wearing? That's game. That takes you away from committing to the fact that you should have to be that person. I think Dr. Umar spoke about that too. The black woman would like to have space to be the woman, to be the delicate one, to be cared for, to be exchanged with. Yeah, we've made the best out of a bad situation. To air quotes, we have made the best out of a bad situation. But the prison system has our African men. We are not standing and cultivating our youth in the home, massaging their brains and making sure they have strong African life skills before they enter this world, and they end up getting tricked by the Matrix and dragged in. Family, we haven't insulated a space for our people to develop in safety. We haven't barred strangers from access to our people. We have not done these things. Right. So there are African women who got to make the best of a bad situation and be a single parent. And that's not a dump on single parenting, but this didn't happen by accident.
And also, that's something to keep in mind of how it feeds into the historic story of African people don't feel pain, or they're in slavery times, right? It continues feeding into that narrative that, they can take it, they can handle it, it's all good. And what that does is it take away from the reality of your humanity. And that doesn't work because you're feeding that narrative. You don't even realize you're feeding it, but you are. By saying I don't need it, I can do this again. No, again, you want to go far, you got to go together. You got to choose to be in a vulnerable space to be look, I need the support. Fuck they talking about? No, we need to work together on this. How can we make this work together? I know what I can do, but let's work together on this, right? Because it matters. You know what I mean? This system has helped us to feed into these narratives that don't serve us as Africans within this space. And we get to let go of that. The resilience conversation. We're resilient because we had to be, not because it's a choice. Right? We're resilient because we had to be, not because it was a choice. We'd rather thrive in our humanity and just be. Right? We've not been left to be, and even in spaces where we attempt to heal, we're not left to just be in that space with our people to heal. Right? We have to bring the friend along. Right? And then it becomes about the friend being there. Well, why is that person here? And then it becomes a whole conversation around that. Right? We have to understand what it means to when we come into session and we're coming to heal with ourselves and with our people and in ourselves. We have to be with our people and be okay with saying no. Be okay with saying I need this time. It's not to say to leave off other people or don't mess with these people or whatever, or hating other people. It's about loving yourself enough to know that this is where you need to be to heal. This is where you need to be your best self. And get that time. We never allow ourselves to get that time to heal from the traumas, the epigenetic traumas that we've been dealing with, because it's still there. It's again epigenetic. It's in our DNA. Science has recently proved it, right? But we know what we know, right? That foresight has been in there. It's been in us generationally. We need to let go of it. We need to heal it, acknowledge it, and then heal it and move forward and strengthen our community and work together around that. There's no more time for anything else. So
yeah, and I mean we're moving through our healing process, and we always talk about that healing curve. It's important that we acknowledge our healing and learning curve, and we acknowledge and take space for it. But guess what, family? We're not in pause. Like, these things are happening simultaneously. And this is part of the reason why I know that I've gone through some of the experiences that I have personally gone through, because I have very strict regiment about the way that I operate, because it's necessary, because we're all in our learning curve, and some of us are not necessarily at the same degrees, right, with our learning. And I have a constant state of suspicious awareness at all times, and where I am regimented and where I have certain strategies in certain places, like, I'm clear about how I allow certain things into my space. I'm also an individual, and I also am an empath. So I also don't bring messy people into my space. If you got too much wild energy, you got to sit that down, period. I'm not offend. It's not an offend. It's I have to mind my mental health so that I can stay at maximum capacity to continue to do that great thing that I do so well, right? I need to maintain that, because I need to make sure that stays healthy, because that is my contribution to my earth space in my living experience on this plane right now, right? And every African must do the same. And until we reach a place where I know, like in the military has this training. Police officers have the same training. Greeks have the same training. When you turn around, somebody is supposed to be on your back. Somebody's supposed to have your back, no matter what. I'm not going to lose an arm, so you're not going to lose an arm. We as African people, I've yet to see it. I've yet to see it occur, where I'm going to make sure that my kid's eating, your kid's eating. We haven't gotten there yet. Everybody is still in their circumstances. We're still trying to create so that we can basically eat food today. We're not looking at the long-term 50-year plan. If we're still trying to eat today, then, we're looking at starvation for the future, right? Because you can eat today, but what are you laying up for when the storm comes? What you laying up? Panic, right? If you're not prepared mentally, you're not ready physically. Because this body right here gonna beat you every time. This carnal, he who loves his life will lose it. This skin, this flesh will beat you if your mind is not tight. Your mind gotta be sharp. And I see many become incentivized and they give up because their flesh can't take it. Because they don't have the mental dexterity to maintain the beauty, the brightness, the love, the lightness in their heart, and love on the people and still maintain security. They don't have the capacity to balance the two. I'm a natural born Libra. So it is my essential energy to be able to do what I do greatly in this great way that I do it and impart it to others to help them be able to do the same. That is my gift. That was my designation. That was my instruction. I am following in my instruction. I am obedient to the call. Okay? So before we move forward, well, actually about to wrap. We about to wrap. So we just wanted to make sure we come in with that education conversation. We want to call in those parents, and we really need to give these skills to our people. And listen, family, you got to take away those tools from the matrix that they're using against us. Certain things you have to not want, therefore they can't use it against you. If you don't want the madness that the matrix has to offer you, then they can't pick for you. They can't trick you. This is why they always make sure, even when I've come into situations, people won't help me. People won't contribute. People won't vouch for me. People won't support because I'm not contributing to their madness. I don't co-sign their foolishness. I don't engage in certain things in their lifestyles that I do. And people want to find out, oh, I'll give you all these plugs if you go out running the town, throwing back alkies and drinking and having sex with strange men. That's what some women want to be able to comfortably do. And I don't live that life. That's not something that I do. So guess what? I can't get no plug with those women. Professionals, all kind of things hanging on them. They want to be able to do those kinds of things. They want to be able to have, that's not joyful to me. That's not happy for me. So that's not activities that I engage in. I'm not your judge. It's not something that I do. I'm not in your life living for you. I will call you forward as an African and say, we're destined for greater, Queen. Queen, we destined for greater. Like you're saying you want to be this, you want to be that, but how does this behavior coincide with what you claim you want as your outcome? I'm not your judge. You have a compass inside you. You know what your judge is. Don't think because you can hide your face from me that you've hidden from your truth. You can't, and that's what I think that some of them be trying to do that. If you hiding from me, you're not hiding from your truth, right?
You gotta
deal with it still. You still got to deal with it. It ain't going nowhere. It will be back. It will be back. Okay. I'm not here to front you. I'm not here to like. I've had so many interactions. Listen, if I tell my side of the story, there'll be a whole lot of folks with a whole lot of egg in their face. It'll be a whole lot of people with a whole lot of egg in their face. Man. I don't tell my side because it's not important. It's not important because I'm not sentimental. Lord of mercy. It's not important. It's really not important. But see, the thing about it is those people who know that I could put egg in their face, they're holding that guilt because they haven't dealt with that. Because you know how you deal with that? You come and you face it. You face it. And they don't have the courage, nor the maturity or the experience. So this is why we help. This is why we bring out people forward so that you can release the beast. Release that energy. Because there really is no big eyes and little U's here. We all thriving, trying to survive through this matrix madness. I'm just saying. Right? We're all trying to get through the matrix madness. Wow, speaking of which, that's how it be happening.
The Matrix article just showed up on the timeline. Anyway,
yeah, family.
You know how we do, family.
We're so glad to have y'all with us tonight.
It's a blessing. Peace and blessings to y'all. I appreciate y'all coming into the chat. We see y'all out here. Peace and blessings. Noir Berg, peace and blessings. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Who else we got in the chat? Allah Day.
Appreciate that. Give thanks.
I want to make sure I say it right. Nkositani. I hope I said it right. Appreciate you for joining in the conversation. Sister Chrissy, Sister Melly Queen, everybody that's been joining in the chat this evening, sharing your thoughts, sharing your insights, sharing your stories. We really appreciate you, Sister Chrissy, sharing your story and being authentic and for Melly Queen for your counsel as well. And for everyone sharing their parts and being with us for this broadcast. It's Soundbytes International Radio, y'all. It's African consciousness is the claim. Oh shit! I thought she was gonna get me. One world is the aim.
Oh, that's right. African consciousness to claim one world is the aim.
Okay, you over here in Inception watching the show while we on the show. No. This is Soundbytes National Radio, y'all. Every Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You know how we do. Once again, of course, make sure
family go to meeting African. That's it. Family go to meeting Fortify African Center Life Skills. Fortify, don't let nobody make you feel bad about standing for your African consciousness and your African humanity. It's your humanity. It's your birthright. You were born with it. You were born whole and complete from the day one. You drew breath. That was the divine essence in you. And that's it. Like, nobody can trick you. Stop letting these people play the mind game. It's a mind fuck. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to boggle your mind and have you distorted in your perception of yourself. We're not going to allow anyone to change our perception of ourselves, African. We are great people. We come from the greatest stock known to humanity, to mankind across space and time. Give thanks. We want to lift our African ancestors, family also, and African consciousness claim.
One world is aim.
All right.
Oh yes, Brother Noir. Yes, peace, blessings.
You
Yes, definitely need to hear this tonight. We appreciate you tapping in with us for real. So yes, indeed. Again, we are live right now on Facebook and Facebook and Soundbytes, Facebook and YouTube. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We try to get the subscribers up. So if you're on YouTube, please subscribe.
That's another way for us to have to exploit the system, right?
The agency, YouTube
and provide the funding. That's because since everybody wants to press enter and the ATM and all of these things, it's still coin is still the lay of the land. Yes, so family, this can help to support the show.
Absolutely. The more we grow, the more we know. Absolutely. Soundbytes International Radio on YouTube. Please subscribe to that. Also, follow us on Facebook. Like and follow us on Facebook. Make sure you like and follow us. If you found your way to the page, wonderful. Make sure you like and follow us as well. Yes. Soundbytes INTO Radio. We're also on Instagram. Others to do the same. Invite others. Invite your village. Invite your family. It's a village conversation. Come to meeting, like Nefra said. So let's invite the village in and follow us. Share these broadcasts. Share these videos. If you go back, if your first time watching, we thank you for watching. And go back to watch other videos and share the content. Share with
tons of content.
This is just raw, authentic conversations we have. These ain't no scripted nothing. This is us talking from the heart every episode for the past 5 years, and we want to keep doing that and keep sharing it out. We want more of the village to join in on the conversation. Absolutely. So we're also on Instagram, Soundbytes International Radio. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, and also you can listen to those past episodes on Soundbytes International Radio on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So make sure you follow. I was just going to say
reciprocity and family. That's my idea.
Every day.
If you have received value, the appropriate thing to do as an African is to exchange value.
Absolutely.
That's it.
You know what it is, family. Soundbytes International Radio each Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Facebook and on YouTube. Let's get the YouTube people up. All right. So one love. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. Thank y'all again for tuning in and joining us for the night. You know how we do. We close out.
We're gonna close out, family. Stick with us for 5 more minutes. 3 more minutes?
Three
and a half more minutes. Just for a little piece of this. We're gonna boost the energy up real quick.
So the power of I am.
Give you an infusion.
We always try to get the energy up before we leave. Get you all riled up at late at night.
Give you a little
take a walk or something. Get fired. I don't know.
We're gonna fire up. We're gonna fire up your Pioneer right quick. We're gonna turn the light switch.
The power of I am from the brother Bricks, myself, and the good brother AJ Throwback. So sit back and tune into this, family. One love, Soundbytes International. Sit tight and jam.
Walk the face of the earth with a boldness which makes people ask who sent you. I tell them I am. They tell me that's a cute affirmation, but it's not an answer. I reply, listen again. My affirmation is your answer.
It's the power of I am. This is the greatness of I am. Look at the strength that I have. None of the truth can deny that. Hear the proof in the hi-hat. Here turn the reflection, I digress. I love me more, never love less. I love me more, never love less. When it's turn, $1,000,000 dreams, yeah, how I manifest it. Look deep inside, yeah, you be the blessing. $1,000,000 dreams, yeah, how I manifest it. Anything I want, yeah, turn up. This is the power of I am. This is the greatness of I am. Look at the strength that I have. None of the truth can deny the power of I am. Handsome chocolate mofo, yo. Anytime I'm on GoPro, lyrical high home growth. Living spots with a cold soul, yo. Conditions without morale so low. So I pitched it fast, pitch it slow. Till the cows call home, bro. It didn't make sense. I was told as a child I wouldn't be shit. Revenge on my mind, started flipping the script. They fed me lies, started puking that shit. They treated me different, I embraced that shit. You know the ones that be closest to you to be the family ties. Sacred bonds, seeing plenty murder, dirty service, ludicrous. Cock up with a dirty burn up, but bet I believed in me 1,000%. Bet I achieved what I was sitting here to get, and I couldn't resist. Kill these niggas with their toxicness without a popping pistol, monotonous. Told myself I couldn't rock with this. Hanging with goofies couldn't get rich. True blood suckers couldn't see bliss, couldn't see shit. Cold face, nigga, they're wrong. I ain't regurgitating, percolating, singing the same song. I'm blessed all day long, lame all day long. Having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. Fuck nigga, I am.
It's just a grind. I'm totally surprised that I ain't lost my mind. Had to take setbacks and learn the weak setbacks that those I gave jetpacks that no planes don't fly. Now I'm in no space, so wasting my time. Focus my goals to shift paradigms. My get up and go to keep my folks from dying. So I'm on the road with a goal that's refined. Yeah, body with a mean vision. Reflected from every angle through a clean prism. Flex matter reflecting in the color and gray. When I lost my mother, found peace aside my queen, and I laid in on my brothers. Yeah, art was shaping up the grand scheme. I done wrestled to the mat on my damn demons. In a matter of time, became a champion. Now my everyday mantra to do the damn thing. So my aims to pack out every arena, inspire the future leaders with every line of the levers of God and unbelievers. Do what they can't conceive us. Love what we do and leave us. Brick, they never see us. Woo! God damn, I'm feeling good, motherfuck. What they say, I'm doing what they never would. Yeah. Get a grasp on your life, yeah. Payment ain't sacrificial prices. Brody, I'm done playing nice, yeah. They gonna recognize who the nice is. From the north to the southeast, kicking others every lane, share about seats. I'm in line with it, man. You cannot be. Say anything I want, yeah.
This is the power of I am. This is the greatness of I am. Look at the strength that I have. None of the truth can deny that. Hear the proof in the hi-hat. Hey, turn the reflection, I digress. I love me more, never love less. I love me more, never love less. Turn $1,000,000 dreams, yeah, how I manifest it. Look deep inside, yeah, you be the blessing. $1,000,000 dreams, yeah, how I manifest it. Anything I want, yeah, turn up. This is the power of I am. This is the greatness of I am. Look at the strength that I have. None of the truth can deny the power of
Man, I ain't
I
talking
am.
in terms of I wish, I want to, or even I will anymore. Only things I proclaim, I do, I have, and I am. I do as my ancestors instruct. I have all I need to affect change, and I am a living magnification of God.
One love. Hope you enjoyed tonight. Thank you for enjoying the show. If you missed any bit of it, make sure you
Catch the replay.
One love. Have a blessed one. Peace and
I
blessings.
walk the face of the earth with a bow.